Hello everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the new year. Today we'll be discussing MP-51 Arcee by Takara Tomy. That was the YouTube video this past Saturday. I went a day early because I was going to be out of town. Also, this video has been up at Locals, plsdrew.locals.com since last Tuesday. Most weeks you'll find a new video at Locals, and then that video appears on YouTube a week later. But this week, Arcee arrived at YouTube, so this week we will discuss her in the live stream. I think they did a pretty good job with her. A lot of controversy over her sculpt, her proportions. I don't think it's as bad as in hand. She comes across a lot better. I'm just saying. I think they made the collar too tall compared to her cartoon representation. I don't know if they could have avoided that somehow, but all in all, it's not too bad. Plus, her articulation is just, out of this world. She can dab. She can do all kinds of stuff articulation-wise. Her hip joint is actually a little lower. Instead of doing the thing that Fans Toys and MMC did, where you had like a sliding mechanism for the hip, it's just simply mounted and rotates lower, so it kind of maintains sculpt through a wide range of motion. She's got two knee joints. One goes fairly easily, and then the other one. So she can do a fairly sharp knee bend. And she has like ankle rockers, ankles, toes, for what it's worth. They're just kind of loose. They're not very stiff. But she's a good Arcee. I like her. She presents well. So we'll turn her into a car. We'll flip up this panel here. For some reason, the official instructions, and I did it in the video because it's official, but they have you flip over this Autobot symbol, and it doesn't even flip completely over. It just kind of sits like that. Kind of weird. But we'll put that back in place. We can move our arms out of the way. We can flip this out just to get it out of the way. Flip up her chest. It just hinges right here. I thought it was on like a double hinge, so I was like, couldn't it go higher? But it can't. You're stuck with it the way it is. So we're just kind of lift this up out of the way. The top of the car slides through a gap right there. So we can lift that up. And then you can lift this down a bit. It's on a kind of a multi-hinge. It's fairly stiff though, so it stop motioned pretty good for me. The windshield is a tricky little bit of business. What I like to do is you have to kind of get it started here first. I like to rotate it partially so that it's now narrower than that gap, and then you flip the head past it. Just kind of maneuver it towards where it needs to be. And then if you flip this whole thing down, you can maneuver the windshield through this gap like this. And then you flip it up. It's a pretty good design, but it requires quite a bit of parking to achieve that movement. So that's a negative in my book, I guess. I'd like to make sure that the little console sits down there properly and the windshield's all the way up. And then we start putting away the head and stuff. I'm going to flip the head around. And it goes like this. There's lots of ways to get this wrong, and then it won't fit under the car successfully. I did get ahead of myself here just now. You have to have this out of the way to get the wheels out. Mea culpa. Excuse me. The wheels and the side panels are actually two separate components, two on a collinear hinge. But now that they're out of the way, we can put that away. The arms, they just kind of flip straight up and then over. I like to kind of put the thumb straight out and put them into the center. Our goal is to have it like this. I'll show a better angle here as soon as I get the other one out of the way. So I'm keeping the arms out of the way for the moment because we want to leave room for the legs to get put away. So I put it like that. And then it is time to go ahead and put the legs away. Legs are kind of cool. When you pull them out, the inner part of the thigh goes away automatically. Like that. We do that for both, and that leaves a little gap so that the legs can fit in. We do want to make sure we rotate them straight. We point the toes. We lift up these panels. They wanted to maintain a clean look on the front, so they didn't want just a regular hinge, so they put on like a little double armature so it can hinge up without having the hinge be visible, so it's a hidden hinge. We tuck the legs in here, and then we close these down and put them away. So the heels actually kind of come almost up to the height of the wheels. And then we can take the arms and kind of flatten them out like this so that they maintain ground clearance. The back of the vehicle, we're going to flip it out. The wheels kind of tuck in, so we're going to untuck them. And we don't want to completely flatten everything just yet, but we're just going to go ahead and get the wheels out of the way. These bits, when you unfold them, you want to make sure you unfold this, the distal, the furthest out hinge first. And then it slides over and slides down. It seems kind of, I don't know. I don't know why the rear lights of the car were deemed to be unsightly and that they would look better inverted like that, but whatevs. This flips up and then these sneak around and plug in like this. You want to make sure you flip down the seats. And this all, and then these spread out too. Just a little bit. It's just to create clearance for the bar that goes over. So we spread those out and we start lowering everything down. There's actually a peg that goes into a hole. It's fairly easy to home. So it's not like you have to hunt for it, but it's kind of invisible. You can't see it. And then the backs of the car, it just does this. It unfolds. These come down. We'll do this other one first, and then we'll do the tabbing. There we go. So you kind of tab these tabs in the back first, and then line up the front tab, and then press it in. We just want to make sure that everything's lined up before we go to do the big press to click it in place. And there she is. Makes for a pretty good car. Not too bad. I don't know how, someone like Unique Toys would do their magic to make this not a shell former. It's really tricky because the design for the cartoon version of Arcee was very not at all a transformer. And so how do you make that transform? Lila says hello. Hello. Just relax. I had a lot of people complain that my videos were too boring. So I'm trying to get through like the part that people maybe watch later for. And then I can pay attention to you, my fans. Nicholas says his RC should be here by the weekend. Oh yeah, I just got my gigawatt today too. It's interesting. It has like molded in striations that are kind of hard to see on the video. But it gives it kind of like that stainless steel look. I haven't seen striations molded in like that since Transformers Prime Voyager Megatron had. I mean, there's like it's like a mold detail, but it does give it kind of a cool effect. I haven't transformed it yet, so there's your scaling, by the way. It's kind of a typical Titan's Return scale, or for Cybertron scale car. I am not collecting the red line. Yeah, I haven't actually seen the red line, so I go into Walmart fairly often, but Walmart has not yet afforded me the opportunity to think about that. So I might not collect the red line simply because I never find it. But I don't know, like the red line, I'm sure they make really good action figures. I mean, Hasbro traditionally makes pretty good action figures, but is that really a Transformer if it doesn't transform? I mean, Transformers are already generally really good, well-articulated action figures, so it almost seems lazy for them not to transform. Yeah, Unique Toys, I mean, the only way to do this without shell forming her is to somehow have, like, the whole side panel of the car somehow fold up and form the arm, you know, to, like, really get rid of the bits and hide them, like, inside. And I've thought of mechanisms where you have, like, a thigh, and if you fold the thigh open, you have like a flat surface between them, you know. So you know it folds up, and then it's round, you know. But there's two flats in between touching each other. So there's places you can hide the flats, the panels. I'm sure somebody could come up with something, but I think Takara just wanted to focus on just going ahead and having her be a shell former, because that's kind of what's expected at this point, and having her, I mean, she has fantastic articulation. Like, they really focus on the articulation. And as usual with Takara, from the front, she looks a lot like Arcee. It's just that backpack that gets you. Yeah, Challenger is just an amazing example of what you can do if you put your mind to it. I mean, I imagine one of these days Takara will get around to doing the Last Night style Optimus Prime. And what are they going to do? They'll probably have some ridiculous backpack on it because they don't care. But yeah, Unique Toys, I hope those designers have landed somewhere. I don't know what's going on with Unique Toys. You haven't heard much out of them. They were a little bit in Hasbro's lane doing movie style figures, although, you know, from later movies, so they weren't trying to compete directly with Hasbro for the MPM line, but I don't know. A lot of those companies have kind of gone silent in the wake of Hasbro getting irritated with the Zeta Unicron. Maybe Hasbro shouldn't have done such a low effort Unicron, and another company wouldn't have been able to come in and steal their thunder. We'll turn Arcee back into vehicle mode, since I want to display her that way. Just want to kind of pull on the panels to break that seal. This untabs and lifts up. This rotates and lays flat. This kind of gets caught under the front edge of that, so you have to kind of pull it sideways to get it out. We fold it and fold it and fold it. Do the same thing over here. So that all folds back there. Then this can pop loose and lift up. And they kind of tell you to do it in bits and pieces in the instructions, where they're like, you know, do a little backpack and then do a little figure and then do a little... But I mean, you could do the whole backpack without touching anything else right away. So we're just untabbing those and getting that out of the way. Then these lift, slide inward, and then you invert them. And it just helps to kind of fold the whole thing like that. Do the same thing here. But it kind of snaps into position. Then you just want to make sure this actually clears. There's a little bit of a clearance issue there. And then you fold the wheels in before you really start. Oh, and make sure you put the seats away, otherwise you're going to be in trouble later. And then this whole thing has like the double hinge and it collapses into the center. And so, and then I leave these open until later, but the wheels go ahead and go in. So that's the backpack. Then we can lift up our front panels. Move the arms out of the way so the legs can extend. And then you automorph the inner thigh by putting those together like that. Straighten out the feet a little bit. Little trivia fact for you, I was doing the upper part of the robot, of course, but she wasn't actually standing that whole time because she'd be a little too unbalanced. It would be hard to keep her still while I was doing other things. So she actually was shot, the upper body part of the video was shot with her in a kneeling position like this so that I have like more contact surface area to glue it down. But of course I'd already panned the camera up so you don't have to see that it's actually posed like that. There's a little behind the scenes for you. So we can go ahead and get the arms deployed. And get the head flipped around. Just like to get it out of the way there. And then we're going to flip down this. So we get this windshield. You kind of start it in at an angle like that. And then you can flip this back up and it's through. And then you maintain that angle. Get these stupid wheels out of the way. And then you can flip this past it. And then you can turn it the rest of the way around and flatten it up against the inside of the hood. So it's a pretty clever way to get rid of the three-dimensional windshield by turning it around and making it match the shape of the hood. Not too bad. I did forget to put the wheels away, so I'm going to pull it out of the way for a second and put the wheels away. You can just put all that away. Then the windshield goes on top of the wheels. Then we make sure that these are compressed. They just compress a little bit. Like this one's out, and then I compress it in. It's just a little tiny bit. But this thing is ready to go. Want to make sure it folds. The pink bit folds. We want to raise it up as much as we can. The instructions talk about these tabs going into those tab holes, but it only kind of, it just kind of establishes where it's supposed to be. It doesn't really tab in. I haven't found a way to tab it in without undue force because it just kind of approaches at an angle. So it doesn't really tab in that much. Then these armatures can actually go through this gap. And you just want to make sure it goes all the way down. You can end up too high and then nothing will line up later. So you just want to make sure that it actually went all the way down. We can put this, the pink swing arm ahead of the bits there. Lower this down. Lower the chest down. So that's like that. And then with her arms up out of the way, we can finally fold these panels in. Some people just fold them in a little bit, which I can understand, but I think officially the way everything lines up, I think they're supposed to fold sideways like that. I think I myself would maybe not fold them all the way because it makes them less obtrusive. Oh, and then, flip this down, and if you must, flip that over. I don't care. I'm just going to leave it that way. But that's Arcee. She does have the visor. It's a bit of a trick, though, because you flip out the visor, and then you're like, holy crap, this doesn't actually go. I'll show you if I can get it out. So you can't get the visor in front of her eyes. And the reason for that is her face actually has to be lifted up. There's actually a second slot. So the face can be repositioned rearwards a little bit and then slide back down. And so now her face isn't as far forwards. did manage to get it. And now the sunglasses will fit in front of her face. So there's actually two kind of slots that her face slides into, and it needs to be in the rear slot for her sunglasses to go down. She comes with a number of accessories. We can discuss those since we're here. Of course, she comes with instructions. She comes with a collector card. Masterpiece Arcee. And a few other things. I'm just going to dump them out. I should have shown this in vehicle mode, but this can be plugged in vehicle mode. So she has like kind of like a ripper that's coming out of one of her wheels. It plugs in towards the front of the vehicle so that the ripper looks like it's coming out of the wheel, but it's not really. She's got some blast effects that can be plugged into the various weapons and stuff. So here's 2 of them, and here's the 3rd one. So it comes with blast effects. She has like a regular little pea shooter gun. Maybe some gun she picked up during a fight. I don't remember. She's got her pink gun. It goes in a holster, and the holster can go on her hip. There's a slot there. And I featured that in the video. She actually draws her gun in the video. There's that. She also has a rifle that she can use. And of course, she's so articulated that she can totally hold the rifle in a proper rifle pose. There are some tabs here so that you can plug this rifle in to the slot behind the wheel there. And if it'll let me. And just have a storage space for the rifle. Not too bad. And then she comes with other faces, and frankly, I don't quite understand what the story is with them. Because this face, the mouth is open a little bit. Let's just compare them. So that face, the mouth is open. And in this face, maybe she's looking a little worried, maybe? But the mouth is still agape a little bit, and the eyes are a little more, I don't know, sympathetic or worried. And then this one, the mouth is open again, but she's kind of smiling. The difference between the face sculpts is pretty subtle, and I'm not quite sure what the effort was for. I'm just going to move her face back up. But all in all, it's a nice figure. I like it. Everything could be better. Maybe it's not the kind of effort you hope for from Takara. But, I mean, I can only imagine how many panel lines you would have if you went that approach where you figured out how to not have a shell on the back. The car would be very panel-y. You know, unless somebody pulled a real magic trick and avoided that somehow. One other thing I wanted to mention, I've been finding the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom figures, which is pretty cool. I think I've managed to find them all so far. But I really wanted to talk about Megatron here, because he has some really interesting design properties that I found. Real quick, see if there's comments. Unique Toys is also releasing their Unique Toys released a Sandstorm a long time ago. I did a video of it. Yes, I would hope that Unique Toys MPM Galvatron comes out, because that'd be great. No, Nicholas, he was referring to the movie Galvatron, the one that transforms by coming apart into individual pixels and reassembling. No, the Fans Toys Galvatron looks nice, as Fans Toys do, but the transformation is kind of unpleasant, and there's a bit of a clearance issue with the center part. So, he's not super clean. There's a number of clearance issues. There's trouble getting his tractor treads out of his arms, and there's the flipping the whole head over is quite a mess for him. I really find this figure fascinating for a couple of different reasons. He has a lot of the soft plastic. It's easier to put a lot of detail in the mold because it'll demold better when it's soft plastic. But they've they've created a technique here where they're putting the soft plastic over top of a hard plastic to give it some structural stability. So for example, this is a good place to see it. There's this purple plastic that's a normal molded hard plastic, but then this skin is a rubbery plastic that's been attached to the harder plastic. So the harder plastic gives it structure, and the softer plastic gives it surface detail that you don't normally get with the harder plastics. I found that really interesting. Point that out a little more as I go along. But I still gotta. Here we go. That transforms. Unfortunately, I have to kind of turn them all the way into dinosaur mode before I can show you the other thing that really caught my attention with this guy. But we'll get there pretty quickly. There's a tab you gotta home here, but it's a little hard to line it up sometimes. But once you do, it locks it together. I just don't feel like I lined it up. Come on, you. There you go. And the legs separate and spread out. Go. And then they rotate downwards. This all flips out. It's spring-loaded for some reason. I think it's just so his neck can flip back and forth, and those will move out of the way kind of automatically. We're just putting these bits in, tabbing the chest together. This all goes like that. This flips down, and now we're getting to the second feature that I really like about this mold. And I wish they'd thought of this when they did the masterpiece version of him, because it's a really, really good idea. Let's see here. I think they have a little more leeway with this because like the masterpiece is trying to be cleaner than this one is in robot mode. But this tabs in. This tabs in. And then we have these little faux bits here that flip around. There we go. So, and we'll turn the tail over while we're at it. So the robot leg, you know, rotates there at the hip. And then you have this bit that rotates, you know, for stowed mode. What's interesting though is this isn't on just a simple hinge, it's on a slider. So it goes like this. And the reason for that is, and here's another example where they used a hard plastic for structure and then a soft plastic over top for detail. They did that a lot with this mold. But when you flip this down to join it with the rest of the leg, what you end up with at the end is a dinosaur leg that actually rotates completely at the hip. So you can actually pose the dinosaur quite a bit. In fact, there's a few different places where it was obvious that the dinosaur posability was a priority for them because, you know, the knee poses well, the ankle poses well, but the tail can actually rotate at this point. It can rotate at the tip. The head can rotate back and forth, and that's where those spring-loaded panels kind of get out of the way automatically. And the head can flip way up too. So you can kind of do like a Jurassic Park, you know. But it's this is a great leader figure. I really like it. But everywhere you look, there's the softer rubber applied over top of the harder plastic, so that it's structurally sound and has that rubbery molded detail, all this high detail. So just about every surface you see on here is a rubbery plastic applied over a harder plastic. It's a pretty interesting bit of engineering. I really like them. So he will get a featured spot here on the platform next to good old Masterpiece Arcee. Currently, ever since Saturday when I shot him over at Locals, we have the TFC Toys J20 jet. Fantastic figure, and we'll talk about him next Wednesday. So expect that video this Sunday. And then this Sunday on Locals, we will be working on this monster. This is the combined mode for Devil Savior Giant Axe. Their answer to Scavenger, or whatever his name was. It's hard to get him in front of the light without knocking everything else on the platform, so we won't. But that's what I'm working on. It's a big, ungainly thing, so it's going to be challenging to figure out how to shoot that in a comprehensible way. Out of time. Yeah, AirRaiser is in the next wave. So, all the current wave were listed at, for example, Chosen Prime for January. And the next wave is coming out in May. So, don't hold your breath for the AirRaiser, because nobody can hold their breath for 3 months. 4 months. In a lot of ways, this figure is better than the Masterpiece. It's certainly a little sturdier. It doesn't have like all that shell forming that occurred with the Masterpiece, and it's got a really interesting finish, like I said, and the fully articulated hips, which is just that's a really cool feature to actually be able to pose the dinosaur quite a bit. When in the butt is Takara going to give us a freaking MP Devastator already? Takara seems to have steered away from doing combiners. I'm not sure why, because it's kind of a built-in, like once you sell one, there's hardly anyone's going to like buy one and then not buy the rest of them, which I think is why the third-party companies are so combiner focused. Because it means you get to produce and kind of guarantee sale of 6 figures or 5 figures or whatever. But for whatever reason, Takara stayed out of that lane, and I'm sure Takara would do a pretty good job with a combiner. So it's true, there's not enough Decepticons, and it's kind of the fault of the original TV show, because they didn't make a lot of bad guys in the TV show. You're right. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine if they tried to make it big enough, Takara would probably charge like $200 a figure. So you're probably looking at a $1,200 combiner. They can't really compete with the third parties in that space, so they just don't do it. We're getting an MP Raiden. Yeah, but it's not Takara, is it? I thought it was that other company, Moon Studio or whatever. Yeah, and the legs are really cool. It's a really good figure. A lot more heavy and solid than, probably because the rubbery material is pretty dense, pretty heavy. But it's just a lot more solid than leader figures have been in recent years. So I'm really pleased with it. It's a good figure. But that's it, gang. That's all the things I was going to say. And I did get some of the other figures. So, we got Core Class Rat Trap. And who else? I was really pleased to find this guy because I like Cyclonus. So I got the Voyager Cyclonus. That's a really well done figure. Workmanlike, it's not terribly complicated or clever, but it gets the job done. There's Vertebrake. Weird looking little dude, turns into a skeletal, kind of like a hadrosaur, like a duck-billed dinosaur. There's a tiny little prime you can get, teeny tiny prime. You got the parts forming, the take it apart, put it back together, Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton guy. There's the skull. what's his name? Paleotrex. Of course, you got your Voyager Optimus Prime. Very well done version of him. You got your Cheetor, which is one of the better Cheetors I've seen in the toy lines. So you can actually have back legs for the cheetah that are actually physically realistic. They're bent the right way. Who else we got? Of course, Black Arachnia. It's a lot like the Masterpiece in terms of how it transforms, but it's a little more simplified and actually easier to work with. And then, oddly enough, they have these, like Cyclonus, they have these things that are in the Kingdom line that have nothing to do with Beast Wars. But we got yet another of that guy. And that's it. That's all the Kingdom stuff we have so far. But really pleased with the Kingdom Megatron. Great figure. It's almost tempting to stop motion it, but I got other stuff I got to do. Oh, and I had to beg forgiveness for this, but I couldn't do this guy. I don't know if any of you have him. If I can find him, he's in the bag here somewhere. I'll just get all this other shit out of the way. But this thing is atrocious. I might do like a, you know, Shozy Store was kind enough to help me with this, and they forgave me for not being able to do it, but this thing is terrible. I don't know if any of you guys have this, but this is a terrible figure. The transformation is one of the most, I mean, it looks good enough on the shelf as a wind charger, but the transformation is devised by someone who was maybe not so much insane, but like just straight up sadistic. It's just, it's just really bizarre, the way they do this. And I've had to repair it like 3 times now. There's like bits that fall off and break. Not break per se, but they fall off and things go wrong with it. But it's a nutty figure, and I really don't have much of a desire to ever work with it again. It's awful. Go buy it. Looks good in robot mode. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That was a Takara tease. I don't know what they're really doing with that, though. No, Kingdom's pretty good. The figures don't come across quite as hollow as other recent entries. And you actually have the figures held together with like screws and stuff. Like actual screws. So that's kind of interesting. If you're following the chat, my commentary will make a little more sense. Wow, we peaked at 14 people watching this simultaneously. That's pretty cool. I don't know if I've had 14 before. Thanks for attending. Well, I'm out of topics, I think. I do appreciate everyone stopping by. Look forward to showing you the video for this on Sunday. If you're impatient and you're willing to spend a whole $2 for a month's subscription, you can head over to peelistdrew.locals.com. That's like local with an S at the end. It's just it's like a social media platform, a little bit like Patreon, but not quite as ethically corrupt as Patreon. And you know, you can present your video in exchange for people subscribing to you. So if you're impatient, you can see that video right now at Locals. Like, you know what? I'll give you a tease. I can do it. Watch this. Display capture. Go to news, locals. And then hold on. All right. I'll give you a little tease of the video that's there right now. He came across really well, though. He's an excellent figure. It's a Chengdu J-20 fighter jet, a real fighter jet that China has, and it's just nicely complicated. It's an interesting figure. But like I said, you can see that on Sunday or watch it now on Locals. It's up to you. Power is in your hands. I can't figure out how to get my favorites bar back. It's annoying. Ugh, how annoying. How do I turn it back on? Super annoying. Anyway. Where the hell is the live stream? Okay. So again, thanks for coming by. I hope everyone's having a good 2021 so far, and I will see you for the premiere of the J20 video on Sunday. Have a good night and a good life. I don't have a sign off. My sign off is my complete lack of a sign off. It's part of the charm. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for coming.